Hello everybody, welcome to Foxwood Forge. Today I thought we'd talk about getting started in our blacksmithing little hobby here. Alright, we're going to go ahead and make just a simple hook, and we're starting with 9 inches, a 1/4 inch square, and we'll be working in the cold today just because it's quiet. Let's talk about working temperature here a minute. This bright orange color on the end is okay to work. This part back here is already getting cold, and as soon as we touch the anvil you can see the heat just leaving it. So we'll try to get the whole area we're going to work nice bright orange color so we have a longer working time. And the first thing we're going to do is just go ahead and try to make a point on the end of it. We'll be working on the far side of the anvil. The reason we're going to work here is so that our hammer has clearance. If you work here in the middle, you can hear the hammer hitting long before it's going to hit that taper on a piece of it. For example, here it hit the anvil. We don't want that. We want it to be hitting air. Okay, we've got some good color now, so we're going to start right on the tip because the tip cools off faster. What I like to do is hit 2 or 3 times on each side and keep the taper even. Now, because this is the first thing we're doing today, the anvil's kind of cold, and it's just taking the heat away from this small stop. But you can see working on the edge of the anvil, my hammer's hitting in the air. So we got just the point done. And you can hear the anvil start to make more of a ringing noise as your metal gets cold, and it's just a sign to get it back in the fire. I recommend straightening out any kinks you have before you put it back in the fire so you don't lose that time when you come back out to work again, straightening everything back out. Now once it's been hot, it gets hot real fast, so we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to start at the tip and then just work back a little bit. Okay. We don't really need to measure things here. This is not a production item that somebody's going to take a measuring stick to and decide exactly how to do it. My measuring device is the face of the hammer. I usually go 1.5 to 2 times the diameter of the hammer for my length. You see we're about 1.5 now. Now we have a nice square taper. The next thing we need to do is turn it into an 8-sided taper. And what that's going to do is help us get it into a nice round shape. Remember, once this thing gets hot, that point gets hot real fast. So we go from 4-sided to 8-sided. Again, rotating as you hammer. Okay? And then you can kind of dress the tip up right now. So we got it 8-sided. Now, the reasoning behind this is the way your eyes see things. Each eye is focusing on a different point in space, and then it puts them together. If you were to just take that square bar and try to make it round, your eyes would guarantee you'd make an oval, because each eye is saying it's round on one side. So when you hammer it and try to do it, it would make an oval. So if you go to 8-sided and then round it off, so now we're going to go start right at the tip and then turn the 8 side to 16. And then just smooth it out while you have a heat. You can go all the way to a black color here, smoothing out. And you can kind of look at your finish as you go to know which way you're supposed to hit it. Okay, so now we have a nice round taper. The next step is going to be to put a scroll on the end for finial. When we get this to this point where we have that fine point, if you take your piece of metal and push it up against the far side of the fire pot doesn't get near as hot as the fire. So it'll actually keep your tip from burning off. And then just pull it out right before you're out of the fire, and it heats the tip right up. So you just kind of come over the edge of the anvil and get it started. And what we're looking for is just a nice small little scrolly. So you can see that's just working on the edge of the anvil. Okay, now we're going to heat this part up here, about here to here, and we're going to make our first hook. These different anvils have different kinds of horns on them. This is the horn. Mine happens to be a machined round horn. It was turned on a machine, and this is actually round no matter where you go on it. So basically, to make our hook, we just pick a place where we're going to have a radius that we like that's kind of big. Go back over here. And that's where we're going to make our radius. On a traditional London pattern anvil, this is an ellipse, and in order to make a round, you have to hold it on a 45-degree angle to the horn. Now, the tip is very fragile, so we just pull the tip off and put it over the horn right where our mark is. Try to keep everything flat as you bend it. When I make my hooks, I like to bring this past 90 degrees. What that does is keep whatever you hook on here from just falling over the edge. by having it go like this, it actually has to come uphill to get off. So, now we're going to turn this around and work on the other end. What we're going to make next is the part where we're actually making a wall hook. This will screw onto a wall. So we're going to make the place where the screw goes next. Okay, now we're going to be on the near side of the anvil, this side by us. Pick about a 3/8 to a 1/2 inch, half on, half off. Just set it down. Okay, now where you still got some thickness, go ahead and knock the corners in. If you try to do this afterwards, it's too thin. Okay, so now we have a place for the screw to go. We're going to go ahead and punch the hole in it right now. My backup plate for punching the holes is just a piece of 1/4 inch steel with holes drilled in it. There's nothing rocket science about it. It's basically just a place for that little piece of metal to go without hitting the anvil. You take it and make your first hit on here until you drive it down to the anvil, and then put it on the bolster plate to drive the little piece through. Now we're going to start on the back side. Eyeball at center. Be sure to look at it again before you hit it, because that punch is going to jump out of that hole every time. Okay, we're going to have to do that one more time. It's not quite hot enough. Mostly because I'm yakking too much with you guys. This is usually done in one heat. Okay, we're going to run it down to the anvil. The anvil makes kind of a ring when it hits the anvil face. We're going to turn it over, and the back side has got a black spot where that is. Put the punch right in that spot and tap it back out, and then put it on the bolster plate. So, go back here, put it back in our hole. You hear it hit the anvil. Now it's time to turn it over. Now in between, I like to put my punch on the anvil. But you can see the black spot. And we're just going to tap that down. And put it on our bolster plate to knock it out. Being stubborn basically means that I missed when I tried to back punch it. You can see I was off just a little bit. That's why I didn't punch it out clean. That's why they make Leathermans. Now it's kind of raggedy, so we're just going to run the punch back through one more time, clean it up. Okay, so now we have this beautiful hole in there for the screw. We're going to heat this whole section up through here and go ahead and get it decorative twist. This is my twisting wrench. A lot of people take a crescent wrench and just add an extra handle on it. The extra handle is just to help keep it straight. And we're going to sneak over here to the vise and what we want is a very even heat. We've got an even heat through the whole straight piece, so I clamp it in the vise even with the end of my hook. Take my little twisty wrench, put it right below the screw, and you can go clockwise, counterclockwise, whatever works. Just remember to twist it enough where your screw is still on the back. And while it's nice and hot, you can take a wire brush and knock the scale off. Now there is a little bit of kink in it, and the easiest way to get that out is with a block of wood, which I didn't bring already. Take the block of wood, you don't want to hit that with the steel part of your hammer because it's going to so now we got all the kink out of it. Get the camera back to where it belongs. Talk about this a moment. Okay, so we showed how to draw this out and make our taper. Then we showed how you upset this, which is what we did when we put it here. We flattened it, we put a offset in it, right here, step down, and then we actually made it wider than the 1/4 inch the way we made it, okay, by just pressing it down. So the last thing to do to this is to get a finish on it. Most of my black iron work I just put beeswax on it. if it's too hot, the beeswax just lights. You can see it's just smoking right now, so it's pretty close to where it needs to be. And basically, if it goes on wet, you're pretty decent. And I just put it on, let it go on for a minute, and then just take a rag and just wipe it down. Now, remember, this thing is still probably 200 degrees, 300 degrees. Beeswax won't melt unless it's at least 220, I think, 230. So you don't want to touch this with your bare hands. But now you can see we got the very nice black color that's associated with being a blacksmith. That's where the name comes from. When we work with the black iron. And I think that's where we're going to stop now. So thanks for coming by, and we will move on to another beginning project next time. Thank you all.